You know, he's a quiet giant, I would say. I mean, he's one to be reckoned with. A lot of people are like, oh, it's bass fishing. I can catch bass at my lake too. I'm like, you have no idea what he does.
When I got home, I signed up for Smith Lake right away and was on the waiting list until like 3 weeks before Smith. And luckily got in and fished Smith and fished the river, and then ended up fishing Grand too. So
a 22nd lead of Ben, a 34th of Smith, a 32nd at La Crosse. So I pulled up your stats today, and I'm expecting to see this big, long resume of tournaments in the Bassmaster organization, and you fished 4 total events with bass. And 5th place in points overall with a win at Grand Lake. Let's back up a little bit. Give us a little bit of fishing history on you, Bob.
Yeah, so I've fished ever since I can remember. I'm guessing like 2 years old was the first time I ever fished.
12 pounds even. Watch it. 10-13. Evan Van Dam is your classic champion.
Yeah,
He's done
I think it was the 2001 Bassmaster Classic down on the Louisiana Delta. Believe is the one Kevin Van Dam won, and that's when it was still in the summertime, and we were just grilling on I think it was Sunday afternoon. It must have been because it was championship Sunday, and my dad turned it on and he's like, hey, check it, Bassmaster tournament, and then come to find out it's Bassmaster Classic, and I watched KBD win it. And so that was 18 years ago, and at that time I would have been 13, 14 years old, and that kind of sparked an interest for me to want to really try and get there someday. And soon after that, I fished that first junior tournament.
This is the first. That's that first tournament.
Yep. Yeah. So here's a picture from that too, next to the Bassmaster sign that year, and bass. These were all. I think this was the big bass right here that from that day.
And we really didn't know anything about what this bass fishing tournament stuff was all about, and we didn't have a bass boat. We showed up, I had rented a cabin for a night so that we could stay the night before the tournament. And the day before the tournament, we got there, and there's all these people flying around in their big bass boats practicing. And I looked at Bob, I said, well, we'll go rent a rowboat. And we rented a rowboat with a little 6-horse, and he and I putted around the lake. And when the weigh-in came in, and lo and behold, Bob had done pretty good. He took second place, and I think he had big bass that day too. So that was kind of the start of it.
And after I kind of got into the tournament deal, I kind of took off with the junior club, then joined the University of Iowa college team and traveled around with them all over the country for 4 years doing that. Done with that, I joined a Minnesota Bass Nation adult club and fished a lot of events through them, and a lot of local team tournaments in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Kind of a little shop off the back end of my garage that I spent a lot of time in. Some woodworking stuff here, some mold wood that I've compiled over the years. I've used some of that stuff to make some furniture in the house, more out of necessity and just not wanting to pay for furniture at a store. So I've made some of it, and then I'm able to store some tackle in here that I don't keep in the boat. These are some frogs that I've used on the Mississippi River. Caught a lot of fish over the years. This one I actually caught the biggest largemouth I've ever caught. These are some old jerk baits and square bill crankbaits that I've used over the years. They got broken bills or they're cracked up. They're now retired. So this came from Grand Lake, Oklahoma. From my win down there in September this year for the last Bassmaster Central Open. It's a pretty special week, just kind of one of those weeks where everything went right, was kind of meant to be I went into it thinking it was going to be the toughest event of the year, and it was pretty tough, but was fortunate to get on a pretty good pattern and ran it in a certain area and got to bring back this guy, so pretty cool.
So I'm really excited. Bob is on his way to Park Falls, Wisconsin today. He's coming to St. Croix to pick up rods for the Bassmaster Classic, but he's also picking up some very special rods. We're introducing a brand new line of rods at the Bassmaster in Birmingham, and he's going to be one of the first anglers ever to try them. So I can't wait to see his face when he picks up these rods for the very first time. He's going to be as excited as Bob could possibly be when he picks up a rod, but I'm telling you, I know that he's going to appreciate the thought that went into this.
I'm heading up to Park Falls, Wisconsin to the St. Croix Rod Shop. I think we're going to be picking up rods for the 2020 Classic and doing a little tour of the rod shop itself and kind of get an idea how they put these rods into production. On day 2 of the Bass Central Open on the Mississippi River, I got paired with Jesse here at St. Croix, who helps run the marketing for the company. And unbeknownst to me, the night before, I had no idea who he was. We got to talk in the morning of day 2 and found out he worked for St. Croix. We kind of exchanged stories, kind of my connection to St. Croix over the years, and had an absolute blast on the water. I had a good day on day 2 at the river, and it kind of saved my season, really. I was sitting in like 90 something after day 1 and had a good day 2 and jumped up in the standings and cashed a check. And that's really the day that was pretty crucial for me to go into Grand Lake. If I didn't have a good day 2, I probably would never have gone to Grand Lake and pursued that 4th event.
Little did I know that it would be the beginning of a partnership, and a very unique partnership and a great story. We're in his boat before takeoff, and he starts pulling out rods out of his locker, and I see that they're Avids, and I like, oh great, Avid rods. He goes, yeah, and he started to tell me the story about how when he was young, he used to drive all the way up here and buy them off of the wall in our factory store, and I thought that was just a really neat story. But at some point we started talking about where he was in the points. I had no idea, like top 12 or top 10 in the points, and he was doing well in the tournament. This was only day 2, and he was doing well, and he had a great sack, and he was hemming and hawing about whether or not he should go to Grand Lake, which was the next stop, and he wasn't really confident in Grand Lake, and go fish there for a chance to go to the Classic. And at some point I said, here's the deal, Bob. I mean, you are what tens of thousands of anglers that are working their way up through the system want to be. You have that opportunity. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to go do that? Give it a shot.
Welcome to the factory store.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Is Rich around?
He is. I'll go get him.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, Rich. Bob's here.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm gonna come out and we'll get him on a tour and show him what we do and get rolling. Hello, Bob.
Hey, Rich, how's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Not much, how are you?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Welcome to our home.
Thanks for having me. It's
We'll
good to
get
be
you.
here.
Yeah, we'll get you in there and we'll show you what we do and what makes us us and why we're the best rods on earth.
This sounds good.
The company started in 1948 over in Minneapolis.
Okay.
A couple of guys downtown Minneapolis that figured out how to take a long cane pole, cut it into sections. But what they really needed to do was figure out how to do the ferrule, the brass ferrules.
All right.
So once they got that figured out, then you had 3 and 4 piece cane rods, and then they would sell those to the hardware stores in Minneapolis.
Okay.
What you see here is our pattern cutting machine.
Okay.
Individual patterns will be cut here, and then they get rolled on what we call a mandrel. Prize for anybody that comes in is this fishing rod starts flat.
That's
not
crazy.
round.
That's crazy.
Everybody assumes it's round, we grind it to some taper.
Right.
But we actually start flat and roll it.
So this is where the blank begins,
This is the beginning of the blank.
Okay.
Yep. So what you'll do at this point is tack the leading edge of that pattern onto that mandrel. And then it's going to go through the roller, smaller parts of it right here. As you can see inside, it's going to pull out that last batch of blank. So what happens then is what you're left with is a blank that's got the spiral, shiny finish. What we have to do is get it to a smooth, matte finish. Okay. Here's your paint room. Temperature, humidity controlled. 2 forms of painting. Squeegee, which is where you run the blank through a process. And then you see the spray booths. The heavy metallics, we like to use spray.
Okay.
And this is where the assembly process starts.
Okay.
But what I want to show you first is, we're coming out with this new series of rods.
Okay.
We debut at the Classic.
All right.
Right? You're going to have those with you, obviously.
Okay. Awesome. Cool.
And nobody up until this point has ever seen how this process is done. So we're going to take a look, and it's very proprietary info, so we don't do any filming or anything. There's your painted blanks that came over. Here's where we'll start to marry up the parts for those, handles, reel seats, etc.
Okay.
We'll come over here. Here's the engineering lab. I'll hook you up with Gavin. He'll go over some of that technical stuff with you.
Nice to meet you, Gavin.
How you doing, Bob?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'd like to show you today some of the brand new rods we've been looking to produce here at St. Croix that are supposed to be the most sensitive in our lineup. So this right here is bringing forth our brand new Extreme Skin handle.
Okay.
So Extreme Skin 2 with the most sensitive guide platform on the market. These are carbon fiber framed guides.
Okay.
Translate into more sensitivity as well as a grippy texture that we've added to go along with that.
Even in wet conditions?
Even in wet conditions, yep. And what also makes this a very unique product in itself is it's very easy to clean off too. You get slime or dirt, take a wet rag and it wipes right off.
Sure, so not like cork where you gotta take sandpaper to it
or
something like that.
Yep, exactly.
Cool, very cool. Can I try it?
Sure.
So these things, are they gonna be your lightest in the lineup too?
The rod in a total will not be, but these are actually lighter than our previous Legend Extremes.
Okay, and when are these coming out?
So these will be available for the first time at the Bassmaster Classic in March.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the handle?
It's pretty cool. I've only had cork or split grips in the past, so I've never had anything like this in my hands. I'm excited to try it under wet conditions.
Sure.
They look pretty cool too. I like kind of all the black and matte look to them. They're pretty sharp.
So Bob, you got the full tour. You got the inside scoop on the new secret stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm excited about it for sure.
There's a group of different, you're kind of an avid guy, born and raised, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
The nice thing is now that you've got all these other series to choose from.
Yeah.
So you can pick the hardware for the Classic and be all set.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have some of that new secret stuff for you for the Classic.
All right.
It's not quite ready to go yet, but it'll be there. You'll be using it. You'll be the first guy that hits the water with it.
That's pretty awesome.
All we have left to do is paperwork to get you signed, sealed, official. Fun doing contracts, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, headed to Basscat here in a week to go grab the boat. So
that should be pretty cool.
that'll be sweet. That'll be sweet. Yeah, pick up the boat and kind of get down to Birmingham for a meeting for bass guys. Yeah, and then hopefully get on Guntersville for a couple days and take a look around. So that's the plan.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
You'll be boating, I'll be looking
Yeah,
at this.
be fun to get away from the white stuff for a little bit.
Let's throw these in, you'll be on your way.
Sounds good. That ain't good. It's a little bit of a white knuckle drive through the Ozarks at dark with the camper last night, but now I'm pretty fired up.
Wow. Jeez, what was that?
This is that famous Basscat customer service we was talking about.
I mean, this is my first time like being with these guys and I'm already late and I don't want to look like a freaking idiot.
Right.
So